special guest Demeco Bell with us. Man, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Oh man, doing well. I can't complain, man. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and give us your background?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Demeco. I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and theater. It was a double major. I also have a master's degree in clinical counseling. I attended the Georgia Tech boot camp back in 2018. Professionally, I'm a licensed professional counselor, currently serving as vice president of community residential programs for a large nonprofit. And I also happen to be a software developer. I did that professionally for about 6 months before I transitioned into my current vice president role.
Okay, yeah. How did you get into software? What made you want to become a software engineer?
So, a lot of my friends that I went to undergraduate with at the University of Alabama, they are all software developers. And we took a trip back in, I think, late 2017, early 2018 to Bangkok, Thailand. And the entire time we were there, all they talked about was software engineering and how much they love their profession. And when we got back to the US, I had to check it out. And so, I Googled around, I found the Georgia Tech boot camp, and I signed up, and that's how I got the ball rolling.
So, did you have any programming experience prior to that?
None, zero. I think I took, back in undergrad freshman year, everybody takes the CS, I think 101 course. I took that. It was some basic HTML stuff, but that was pretty much it.
So, like, what was the boot camp experience like? Did they teach you everything you needed to know?
Not really. The boot camp, it was a good experience, I believe it was like I think I paid 10 grand, $10,000 to go to that boot camp. And what it did, it basically, I guess, from a high level, it introduced me to things that I needed to know, but it moved so fast. So I could never really sink in on those concepts, but I was introduced to a lot of different things. And I believe that boot camp was like for 6 months, 3 days per week.
Okay. So, like, what were some of the gaps between what you learned in boot camp and what you needed to actually get the job?
I would say the biggest thing and the most beneficial thing was actually getting a mentor to actually drill down on some of those things that you learn in the boot camp. Because I remember like week one, it was HTML. Week two, CSS, build a project. Then they introduced JavaScript, build a project, and then it went on to other different things, and you never really actually grasp. So what I did, I spent all those evenings, with my mentor working on kind of real world projects.
So it's kind of like that hands-on mentorship that really started filling in the gaps for you.
Exactly. That was, detrimental to actually really understanding what is happening. Because boot camps are extremely fast paced, but you're doing stuff, but you don't really understand why you're doing those particular things until you start, building those projects and implementing a lot of those things that you learn within your boot camp.
How long did it take you to get a job from once you left boot camp?
So, I didn't really start applying because I have, the whole mental health career and I was moving up the ladder in that. But I think once I became, serious about it, say that I wanted to actually get a full-time developer role, I think it took maybe probably 6 months. And within those 6 months, I had a lot of interviews. And then I had one interview I'll tell you about, and I didn't get the role. They actually called me back to interview again, and I still did not get the. So it
Okay.
took a while. It was definitely challenging. If you don't have a traditional, I guess, CS background, it makes it, even harder because people don't really want to take a risk on you because they don't know if you can really, do the job. So it was challenging. But what helped me was LinkedIn. I did a lot of networking. I jumped in a lot of people's inboxes, trying to really sell myself. And I actually met my hiring manager on LinkedIn, and she had saw some of the stuff I was doing, and so we connected. Did a couple messages, and then she invited me in for an interview, and that led me to eventually getting that first role.
No, wow. So like, what exactly did you do when you were networking? Kind of reached out to people, and like, what did you say to them?
Yeah, so the first thing that I did, I was building applications, and not just just like a to-do list or anything random. I was building things that I thought that someone could use or that it solves some kind of real world problem. I was actually working at a permanent supportive housing program where the residents there were having difficulty, like they were losing packages. The staff couldn't keep track of like when a resident would get a package from UPS, Amazon, etc. So I've built something called Package Manager to actually solve that issue, and the company still uses that to this day. What I would do when I would inbox people, I would tell them, hey, I'm Demeco, this is what I do. Let me tell you about some of the things I've built, some of the real world problems that I've solved. And that would open some of those different doors for me and allow me to get interviews.
Okay. Yeah. What technology stack did you use for that program?
Yeah, so my boot camp was the MERN stack, MongoDB Express, React Node, etc. Um, but interestingly, my job that I had for those 6 months when I was working professionally was actually in Ruby and Ruby on Rails. So, I was extremely apprehensive about that, taking a job. I don't know the stack at all. So I had to get up to speed and learn as I went. And that company was extremely receptive to that and gave me the space that I needed to grow as a junior developer.
Yeah, I think that's like really important. Like when, especially as a junior, having a company that kind of supports you, understands where you
Absolutely.
are in your career.
Absolutely.
So how long did it take you to get up to speed with Ruby on Rails?
I would say it took probably, that first month, I did a lot of like, courses, a lot of YouTube stuff, a lot of self stuff that I was doing after work. And I probably got my first ticket, I would say within maybe 5 weeks after starting that job. And it was something like, a quick bug fix. But then after that, it progressed to other different things, like doing feature work, data repair, things of that nature. But I'll say what the most challenging aspect was that when you build your own personal, projects, you've actually, you've written the code. So you know what it looks like, you know what the thought process was, you know how to find things. When you get that first role, you look at the code base, you're thinking, what is this? It's, my code is 100 lines per page. This is thousands and thousands of lines. What was this person thinking when they, built this? So that was a challenge, and that was definitely a learning curve for me.
So how did you break down a big code base to be able to understand it?
It wasn't, that first 2 months, it was not 8 to 5 for me. After work, I would go back in and look and try to figure out, how things worked. I was finding prize, that's a Ruby term, kind of like a console log for Node, to kind of see how the data was being passed, through the code base. And I spent, a lot of time after work, a lot of times on the weekend, trying to just get myself up to speed with that. I had to do more than what was actually required to contribute to the team.
Yeah, that's a major thing about this industry. If you really want to get ahead, you got to spend a lot of time outside of work.
Exactly, exactly. And I was still building side projects, but I switched from the MERN stack to building things with Ruby and Ruby on Rails, and that also helped me, in my job.
Did you face like imposter syndrome? I know a lot of people talk about that, like not feeling like you don't really belong because everything's moving so fast.
Yeah, every single day. Because I had some guys and girls on my team that they have been doing the software thing for a lot longer than me. I had some extremely smart people, on my team, and me being a newbie, that was challenging. And especially I was coming from management and upper management, going to being the small man on the totem pole. So that was also a challenge for me. But again, my team was extremely supportive. My manager was great. And so she helped me kind of walk through and talk. experiencing.
So yeah, how was that experience of going from like management now you're a junior again? Like, how did you make that mental adjustment?
Yeah, and that was kind of tough. I had to prepare myself for that going into it, but every day I just had to show up and remind myself, this is the goal that I had, and this is something that I have to work through in order to obtain that goal.
So like, what are some of the things the well, obviously you can't really get into what you worked on exactly, but what were some of the more interesting challenges you faced while on that job in the first 6 months?
Yeah, I would the toughest thing that I faced when I was working at CallRail was writing tests.
Mhm.
I cannot emphasize, the importance of that. And in a boot camp, well, my boot camp specifically, we only spent like the last week of the program talking about how to actually, test the software that you write. But from a professional standpoint, I can get the code, I can get the feature. We're using, continuous development, continuous deployment. Um, I had to pass all that using Semaphore. And so, everything had to have test coverage. So there was a lot of situations where, I could get my task done very quickly, but then I would get stuck on writing the tests to show that the code that I wrote actually is doing what it says that it should be doing. So that just took a lot of practice, a lot of repetition, looking through the code base and seeing because when you work at a company that already has an established code base, a lot of times you can go back and see how things were done previously. So it
Yeah.
took a lot of research, a lot of searching to see how things were done, with prior features and prior bugs, and trying to re-implement that to solve whatever problem, that I had at hand.
So like, what are some of the things you would recommend, like somebody who's just trying to get into the industry, like how should they start preparing themselves? What are some things they might not expect?
It's when you're doing tutorials, or if you're in a boot camp or in a class, you have to take what you're learning and use that to actually create something, because that's how you really learn what is happening. And then get familiar, like you're building things by yourself. That's completely different from when you're working on a team. So get really familiar with version control. I can't tell you how many times I got stumped on, trying to rebase or having merge conflicts, or just really understanding because professional development is a lot different than working on your own side project, because you're working with a team to achieve, one common goal. So just really understanding what it's like to work on the professional level. And that's something that I was able to level up to it, but I didn't know what to expect coming into it, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely important. Version control testing.
Yes,
And I just think mentally preparing yourself for the industry, because you're gonna feel confused a lot of the times, and
right. All the time.
yeah, and I've actually heard of people like quit in the industry because their first company wasn't that supportive, and when you're confused and you don't know how to solve the problem, and you're
Yeah.
under pressure, that can really push some people out of the industry.
I definitely could see how, one could fall into that trap. I was blessed with, like, I couldn't have, dreamt of a better first software engineering job than what I had. I mean, it checked all the boxes for me. And when I left, I was just going back. I didn't have any, complaints or any qualms or anything with the company. I was just going back, to the mental health industry in a different capacity. And that's the only reason why I resigned from that role.
Yeah, can you speak about that? You say you left back to the mental health industry. What are you doing now?
Yeah, so my role again, I'm vice president of community residential programs for a large nonprofit organization, and basically I oversee all of our residential programs that we have at the organization. And for those that, when I say the word residential, that just means people that live at a place and they're receiving services. So I oversee all of the programs that we have with that organization. It's a
Okay.
pretty big role. Probably I would say 100 or so people fall under that branch of the organization that I lead.
So how's the mental shift like going from development back to like to a more senior role? Like how did you make that mental shift again?
Yeah, it was challenging. Working as a dev, you have the times that um, you're really, it's crunch time. You got a bug in production or whatever the case may be. But then as sometimes you have those times where it's kind of laid back. My task is to just make this button look like other buttons in production. That's an easy fix, right? But when you get into a role, something that I do now, and when you're dealing with the lives of people, right? Every day, every hour of your day is crunch time because you're dealing with, again, the lives of people, and so many people depend on me to show up every day being 100%.
So like what are like is what you're doing now like mostly like managing people and kind of directing people?
Yeah, what I do now, it's from a high level perspective. I manage mostly, upper management. Like I manage directors to
Mhm.
ensure that we're providing the service that drives the mission of the organization.
Okay. Yeah. Can you speak about that a little bit? Like, how do you make sure they're on their jobs?
Yeah, so and if they were on here, they would probably say that, I wish Demeco would, leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm not a micromanager, but I try to meet with everybody on my team weekly, because working with children and families is something that I'm extremely passionate about. And that's one reason why I veered back into that lane. In the social service industry, particularly as you work your way up and do different things, there's not a lot of people that look like me, providing
Mhm.
the service, but there are a lot of clients that look exactly like me. So I think that it was really important for me to provide whatever value that I can, in that capacity.
Yeah. So I know, like, especially in software as well, there's not a whole bunch of African Americans. So, culturally, you might be a little isolated. How do you deal with being like pretty much, by yourself in terms of that?
Yeah, I'm kind of used to that. That's kind of how I kind of grew up, to be totally transparent. But I think that all of us, as we journey through our careers and do different things, we have a social and moral responsibility, to show that you listen to. I don't want to beat a dead horse or go on a tangent here, but you listen to rap music or whatever the case may be, and or watch the news here in Atlanta. There's a lot of negativity associated with people that look. So I make it a point to show that there is a different perspective, and I make it a point to be a role model, particularly for the least of these that I'm extremely passionate about serving.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the reasons I decided to start the podcast because if you look on YouTube and it's just a lot of fighting, a lot of drama. I just wanted to kind of showcase something different.
Right.
People really emulate what they see. Even if they don't want to admit it, if you keep on watching something, some of those tendencies start to sneak in your behavior. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
kind of want to provide alternative to all of that drama that
Right.
they. So, like, do you have you mentored anybody?
I actually have. I have. I don't know. He's probably not watching, but I have a friend that he recently decided that he wanted to pursue the software, development role, probably about a month or so ago. So I've been walking him through some basics, and I did discourage him to from the boot camp route. Again, no shade to the boot camps, but I said his name is James, and I said, James, we can map out a plan. And I can show you exactly what you need to know to get to where you want to be. And in the technology age, everything is online. You can learn anything that you need from YouTube, or just simply Googling, or with the with AI taking off, or what have you. So I said, let's just map out a plan. Let me show you the pieces of the puzzle that you need to know. Like when I went to the boot camp, it showed me what I needed to know. Did I master it in the boot camp? Absolutely not. So I said, save that 10 grand. Let me just give you a curriculum, and then let's figure it out from there. So
Absolutely.
he called me last week. He was so proud. He was able to get some words on a page with HTML.
Oh
But that's
wow.
awesome for somebody that doesn't have any sort of tech background at all.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you start somewhere, you stay consistent with it. That's really what matters.
Right,
Mm.
right,
I honestly find like some of the self-taught devs, they're actually some of the better developers because in this industry, you're always having to teach yourself. You're always having to learn and figure things out. Like you can't really coast on your skills that you've learned like a couple years ago.
right, for sure.
So yeah, just really being able to take that initiative and learn for yourself. That's an extremely important skill in this industry.
Right.
So I know another thing about you is you ended up on the board of your HOA. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So right now, I live in Atlanta, Georgia, in the Buckhead area, in a condominium, and I am the treasurer for our homeowners association. And it kind of all started off as I'm just going to run and just see what happens. So I submitted my name, and I actually won. I think that was about 2 years ago. And then we did a lot of good stuff. A lot of the homeowners are satisfied of the advancements and projects that we've been able to complete during our tenure. So I decided to, there was talk about me running for board president, but I don't have enough time in the day to do that. But I put my name in the hat. Then I was reelected time to serve as treasurer. So I've always been really interested in politics. And who knows, someday I may run for city councilman, but this has definitely given me, great experience in the Atlanta metro area, working with people, working with homeowners, adding value. I guess we're doing a good job. They continue to keep us around. So we'll see. We'll see what the future holds.
So I know like when a lot of people think of HOA, all they really think about is the fees. But like, what are some of the things that you guys do to really bring value to homeowners?
Yeah. So where I live at, we do have I think our HOAs is probably, not to put our business out there, but it's give or take probably $400 a month. And that goes to the upkeep of the condominium. We have elevators, we have common areas, we have pools, we have gyms, we have all that kind of stuff. But the biggest thing, I'm really big on adding value. So every fiscal decision that we make is to put value back into the neighborhood. So if we have homeowners that want to sell, I want to ensure that your home is an investment. It's not a liability, but more of an asset for you.
Okay, yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. I think that's all of the questions that I have for you. Did you have any questions for me in terms of like development or anything like that?
Um, I guess I would be curious or interested to hear, I guess, your thoughts. If somebody is a newbie and doesn't have a lot of or have any experience in the tech world, what would be some suggestions that you would have for them as they try to break into the industry?
Yeah, so something I kind of learned is that everybody has a unique learning style, so that I can't necessarily tell somebody to follow my path. So I think they have to really assess how do they learn. Some people love the classroom environment, whereas me personally, I like to research things on my own. I hate like people setting deadlines and things on my learning. So
Right.
um, if they're like if they're like a self learner like that, they can probably go the route of like free code camp or per using these internet resources and teaching themselves and then putting together projects. But somebody that really needs to be around other people, they want something that's more formalized. The boot camp may work for them.
Right.
But yeah, I think a lot of the people coming in, they kind of realize that the gold rush days are over, where you could just come in and get a high paying job. Like now you really have to work at it. You really have to want to be here. So
Absolutely.
uh, before you make that investment of time and money, dabble with software, see if this is something you really want to do. Because otherwise you can be out like 10 or 20K and you
Easily.
you, you really don't want to be here.
Easily. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I know a lot of people been talking about AI and things of that nature. What are your opinions on stuff like Chat GPT?
I actually used it last night on the application that I'm working on. I don't, and when I'm looking on scrolling on LinkedIn and social media and just Googling around on things, I don't think that, I see a lot of concerns that artificial intelligence may replace the software developer. I don't think that's the case. I think that artificial intelligence is just another tool that engineers and people of all kind of professions can leverage to make their jobs more efficient. So I use it. I think it's great. I can't believe that ChatGPT is still free because I
Yeah.
assume one day it may be, it may come as a cost, but it's just like Google for me. It's just another tool that we can use to make our processes, more efficient.
Well, yeah, we had a couple of comments. Carrie says, "Thank you for sharing. Congrats on all you've accomplished." And Timothy Aloba also says, "Kudo, guys." But yeah, getting back to Chat GPT and AI, is very, very powerful, but
Yes.
it's something that I'm personally not going to be really using because I don't know. It's just I just have some concerns about it. It's like I don't know if you heard about the Microsoft AI called the Bing AI.
Yes,
Or
I have.
Bing. Yeah, it kind of went off the rails. Like it's threatened like one person, then another person. Is like kind of almost saying like stalking that person, saying like I love you and this and that. So
Yes.
it's
I actually, my next project after I finish, building this, I'm building this application right now called Pleasantly. I want to incorporate. I saw where Chat GPT you can kind of plug into their API right now. But I was thinking about this app, for I could utilize for like mental health. Like picture this. Somebody's in, right? And you can go to this, this application and you can type in, hey, I'm Demeco, I'm having a bad day. And then it'll say, well, tell me a little bit more about your day. And then you could type it in, well, I'm feeling really sad and blah, blah, blah. And then it'll respond with another question. And then
Mhm.
once you say something like, I'm thinking about harming myself, I don't feel safe, it automatically, links you to the crisis center or links you to the EMS or whatever the case may be. So that may be my next thing that I'm tinkering on after I finish Pleasantly.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting idea. I think if people can get the resources they need a lot easier, then that'll definitely be helpful.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did you ever get into like the Web 3.0 stuff, like NFTs and the cryptocurrency and all of that kind of thing?
I didn't, but I have a cousin. That's he's also a software developer that's real big into that. And if you put it in like LinkedIn, I think the name of his company is called Let Bob, and it'll tell you like LETBOB. It'll tell you all about all the fascinating things he's doing in that arena. Really, really smart guy. His name is Anthony Buchanan.
Okay. Yeah. I don't like NFTs. I kind of see like I don't really see that really taking off. But I know cryptocurrency that's really big, but it's kind of having a downturn right now. But I think they want to
Yes.
get us off of that into like the more formal digital currency, like the digital dollar.
Yeah, I was on the whole how do you pronounce it? Dogecoin.
Hmm.
I was when that was, I lost a lot of money in that because I thought we were, as Elon would say, we're going to the moon, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I'm not really into that anymore.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. Like if you got in like day one, then you're
Right,
probably like a multimillionaire. But
right. But if not, you're like me.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, man, I think that's everything I can think of, man. Did you have any closing thoughts you want to share with the audience?
Not really. I think we're closing in on about 30 minutes. I really appreciate, you taking the time to have me on your show. I wish you nothing but the best as you continue to grow your podcast. And anywhere I can be of any assistance or help, just reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to do so.
All right, man. I definitely appreciate you stopping by, man. You can stop by anytime. We like to have like round tables where we discuss different things. So if you ever want to jump in on that, I can send you the link.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.